We will definitely not shut up and dribble.
The champ is here. I must be the greatest. The champ is here.
I'm going to continue to stand with the people.
The champ is here.
I will not lose.
I'm a bad man. I took up the world.
Yes, welcome. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you were here with we. My name is EJ, and I got my man.
MH.
He is the DB of the show, and we are Black in Sports, giving a voice to the culture that won't shut up and dribble. Here interviewing the best professionals in the game and in the boardroom, covering it all, laughing at it all while providing a platform to be heard. All right, so you know how we do it. We got to welcome our guests in, right? And usually I kind of create these, but she had it all created for me, so I didn't have to do much work here, all right? So she's a talent whisperer, all right? An elite dot connector, all right? We're going to connect those dots tonight. She got a black belt in personal relationships and brand building, and she's a girl that makes it happen. Anything in sports, all right? So entertainment, NIL space, but currently she is the VIP of talent and brand partnerships, okay? So let's please clap it up for my girl and yours, Ivory Tabb. Clap it up, clap it up, clap it up. All right, well, we thank you, and how we jump into it, we just get going. We don't, no holds bar, and I know you can roll with it, so we like a shoot your shot moment, okay? So we ask all of our guests a time that they shot their shot, and you can't, because I know you shoot your shot daily, but we need a specific time where you shot your shot. You know, you bet on yourself, and you said, you know what, I'm going to do this, I'm going to make it happen. You could have learned something, or you could have dropped the ball, so either way, man, share with the people.
Okay, my very first time is, so I went to LSU. I ran track. I'm from New Jersey. So I was the academic advisor for football at LSU. That's how I really got into the business. The NCAA said that Southern University, all the HBCUs needed academic advisors because at the time they were still falling under the regular advisors at school. So NCAA said all schools need to be treated equal. So we went over there, we started that program. After a year, I went up to the girls' basketball coach and I was like, let me be your assistant. She was like, what? You don't know anything about basketball. I said, you're right. I don't know X's and O's, but I know everything else. I know marketing. I know academic advising. I know community relations. I know scheduling. I know promotions. And best of all, preseason workout, they will be in the best shape they have ever been in their life. And it worked. It worked.
That's
it worked. So everybody be like, how is you a girls basketball coach? And I'm that's how.
The mage.
I love it. EJ, hit that Bruce Leroy sound again real quick. I had to.
We gotta add that to the drop.
Yes, literally. I was just like
oh, that's funny. So, Ivy, where did your love for sports start?
So actually, everybody that I tell stories to and I connected to, it's my brother. Me and my brother are a year apart. He's Clinton Tabb the third, and actually he's a high school football and basketball coach. And we always thought he was going to go to the league. So remember you played football and you were little league and you had the stuff, you know, the little pants and you put the pads in and do the belt and all of that. That was me. I made sure he was ready all the time. Yes. Like, so I knew at a young age that I was going to be involved in sports in some capacity. I actually thought I was going to be a trainer. And like I said, went to LSU on a track scholarship. I got there. You needed 800 hours to take the test. So I stopped running track to get ready to volunteer to take the test. Mm-hmm. First semester in, after the first semester, the head trainer was like, you're too cute. And I said, excuse me? She said, you're too pretty for this job. And I was like, what is she talking about? Right. She was like, you know, and this is back in the day. So of course there are tons of female trainers now, Black female trainers all across the board. But back then, you know, it wasn't. And she was like, what you think is going to happen is not going to happen. She was like, you know, you're going to be stuck at a high school, maybe a low in college, but in the NFL, the NBA, she was like, and there's always going to be an issue with your looks, the way you deal with the players and how they feel about you. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it was a hard lesson at 19, 20 for someone to be like, you can't do this job. So I've had to pivot. Mm-hmm. First lesson learned in sports, always pivot. Always have a plan A, B, C. And literally I said, so you just stopped running track, you gave back your scholarship. What are you going to do? I started tutoring. And that's where the magic, happened.
All right, so let's bring it back though. So you kind of start from the genesis a little bit, right? So Camden, New Jersey.
And when I say get it how you live, from that, I mean, I went home one year and my brother was like, let me show you where they taped the wire. And I said, the wire was not taped here. He was like, I know, but when we turned this corner, it could have been.
Just and like
sure that. Enough, when everyone be like, defund the police, and it's so horrible. I'll be like, we did that in Camden already, and it worked out fantastically. It doesn't mean what you think it means. But yeah, nope, Camden, New Jersey. Right now, the Sixers, it's regentified because, the Sixers practice at the waterfront. It's not that kind of waterfront. It ain't. It ain't no Oasis, but
it's water.
That's it. And a jail. Let's not forget that jail. If you go out the practice facility and go left, come right. Don't go that way. So yeah, no, Camden. And like I said, it's hustle. It is the full-fledged, that whole Philly thing, that whole get it. We throw snowballs at Santa Claus. The fans is the worst. That's us. And guess what? Everybody hates us, and we don't care.
Philly versus everybody. So you're Philly because you say, and it's South, right? It's like, so you got to say South Jersey. It's not like, don't get it twisted, right?
Do not. East New York, don't even. That's North Jersey. And then there's regular Jersey, and it's like, who's from there? But South Jersey, you fly into Philly, you go across one of the three bridges, Betsy Ross, Walt Whitman, or Ben Franklin, and you in Camden, you in Jersey. So, folks that don't see it don't know how close it is, but it's, we used to run to Philly at track practice across the bridge. 1 mile there, 1 mile back.
All right. So, you touched on the track, right? So let's go there. MH.
You speaking of the hustle, you was taking money just with the neighborhood races and everything like that.
So I wasn't taking money. I was the facilitator. I would set up the race. I've always been the setter up of said things. And so I say that MH, my dad, he retired from track, but my dad coached track for 60 years. We had, he was Carl Lewis's coach. We lived next door to them from Willingboro. Wow. That's the same thing. My dad, that's all my dad did. He started a track club called Camden City Track Club. Everybody in Camden ran for my dad. Back in the day, there were only 2 high schools at Camden. In Camden High, and y'all in the sports space know Camden High. That's where Dwan Wagner Jr. goes. And then the other one across the road was Woodrow Wilson, which now, by the way, their name is turned to East Side. And, recruiters and folks be calling me like, what's happening at East Side? And I'd be like, what the hell is East Side? What school are you talking about? And then like, it says Camden. So, I hit my brother and I'm like, what is East Side? He was like, oh, my bad. I forgot to tell you. They changed Wilson to East Side because Woodrow Wilson had an issue. I said, So yeah. And then you cross the tracks and it's Pennsauken. And Pennsauken is where you sent your kids when you want it better. So that's kind of, it makes you laughing, but you know what I mean.
I do. What was your events?
The 800. And
okay.
Yes. 4 200s. Perfect to get them how you live. And now, like, folks be like, do you have any advice for my kids on track? And I'm like, it's 4 200s. You got to give me 2 really good ones. And you need to decide where those really 2 good ones are going to be.
So that's the strategy. I ran 800 in my senior year in high school. I didn't have no strategy, just run until I couldn't run no more. So that was a strategy. No, I get what you're saying now. I wish I would have known that a long time ago.
Before, right?
Yeah. So when I say, like I said, this track thing, my brother actually, he coaches track now too, track and football at the high school we went to, Pennsauken. He just, his sprint medley team just ran the fastest sprint medley, and the sprint medley is 2 200s, a 400, and an 8. They just ran the second fastest sprint medley in the USA this last weekend. So when we say we run track, we run track. And how it happened at LSU is LSU goes to Penn Relays. Mm-hmm. And literally, I saw them they had one year they had on these tan uniforms, and across the front it said LSU in glitter and purple and gold. And when they took off, it looked like they were naked. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I'm going to school. Yeah. Sign me up, please and thank you. But at the time, LSU didn't have a scholarship, didn't have no book money, didn't have nothing. And, you know, back then I'm smart as a whip, so I signed up to go to, you know, UNC had already accepted me. Marion Jones was on the team, so it would have been, in my life, I was going to marry Vince Carter. I was like, okay, just go to UNC. It's okay. And then last minute, LSU was like, we got a spot. Somebody got pregnant, and here we are. So sight unseen, I went to LSU, and baby, it was so hot.
Muggy and them big ass bugs.
When I say the first day, my mom, we driving down there. My mom and my cousins, we there. She take this, she straightened all this hair. Boom. I'm ready. Can't tell me nothing. Got my little wedges on because remember, it's fall 95. So wedges in place. SWV is still doing what she doing. Coco got that split in the middle. I'm from Jersey. Bamboo earrings. Can't tell me nothing. I'm here on a track scholarship. I walk across campus. I get to class. I sit down. This girl from New Orleans with 2 gold teeth in her mouth tapped me on my shoulder and she said, baby. Yes. She said, your hair. I said, my what?
My what?
She said, your hair. And I'm like, oh, my hair? In my mind, I'm like, it's great, isn't it? It's great. And she's like, no, baby. I think you need to go to the trail. I said, the what? The bathroom. Fine. I get up. I go to the bathroom. Blew up. When I say I look like I was in the field picking cotton, hot summer day.
Yo.
Yes.
What that's it right there, right? You learn. So braids was quickly adapted.
When I say literally, and then between track practice, going through everything, it was like, and then, you know, what's so interesting now, especially about kids and this whole college space and everything, you know, I wanted to go away. My mom was like, you better apply to Rutgers. And I was like, Rutgers? Who the hell is going to Rutgers? Lady, I'm out. Dude, double down. However. And so, you know, it's so funny right now as going through the process. You know, I do a lot of mentoring. I do a lot of helping kids, you know, look at their options. My brother thinks I work for him. So, you know, we do a lot of recruiting. And it's one of those things that, you know, I'm like, Bud, we call him Buddy. I'm like, why don't kids want to go, you know, for them down south at home? For us, the East Coast is really only 3 places. The East Coast is Philly, Jersey, New York. That's the East Coast.
That's it.
That's it.
That's the East Coast right there. Nobody else is invited to the party in the club. You're in the burbs. Like, this is the real East Coast.
Exactly. The South is West Virginia. That anything the South. The dumb kids think. Virginia down is the South.
Okay.
So, you know, they'd be like, I'm like, why don't they come down south? And my brother be like, they going to Maryland. I'm like, no, I mean deep. Oh, Bama, Mississippi, Arkansas, Georgia. That's when I'm talking south. And my brother's like, kids not built like that. You know, to go from home across, same thing out west, you know, it's a different time frame. You out there by yourself, you know, and that's, I try to get kids, I'm like, listen, this is the only chance you're going to get to do whatever you want to do, how you want to do it for free if you do it right.
Right.
Especially in this NIL space, especially in sports, you know, people be like, oh, I don't want no student loans. Just get it. Go. This is, if you ain't tied to nothing, this is your chance to see something.
So that's why you wanted to leave. You just wanted to see something, or besides being naked on the track.
So I knew I was going to work in sports. And so even back then I was like, go to a school that has a name.
Yeah.
Go to a school that you walk into a room, You could say, back then UNC, you go anywhere and folks want to talk about Jordan and Michael and whatever.
Yeah, that's
right
true.
now, in this Power 5 space and what LSU was cooking, because I love LSU with all in me. LSU, I could talk sports with anybody. I'm going to talk trash. I'm going to talk sports. We going to put up or shut up, win, lose, or draw. In my mind, I'm like, come on, women's basketball team. They ranked us 3rd, even though we should have been 2nd. We got to make it to the tournament. And Dawn going to give us this work, but at least we was there.
Love it. So, all right. So you got down to LSU, right? So in Baton Rouge, there's another school down there that's real near and dear to all of our hearts, right? So it's HBCU down there.
Yeah.
And you kind of talked about, like, when you shoot your shot moment, how you had interaction with them, later on becoming an advisor and all of that stuff. At any point, since you stopped playing running track, was there any point where you wanted to go take classes over there, or you did take classes, or like how's that relationship while you were down there?
All the time. It's a bus ride. It's a
It's
you
close.
get on LSU Transit and it'll take you to Tiger Jaguar Connection. That's what it used to be called. You ride that little loop and you go over there, and that's what I tell people. I'm like, this weekend, as you mentioned, I was there talking at a sports boot camp agent, a sports agency boot camp. So folks that want to be an agent. The first thing I said and it was on Southern's campus, the first thing I said, if you want to be an agent and you haven't been over at LSU, you don't want to be an agent. I mean, you have to use everything that you have in your advantage to get what you want. And the thing to me about HBCUs is, and I say this all the time, HBCUs really don't want to be in the business of sports. And when I say be in the business of sports, with these Power 5 schools, they lie, steal, cheat, but anything to get ahead and put themselves in the position to win. Power 5 is going to figure out a way to do it with the NCAA's blessing. HBCUs don't like to do that because they weren't built for sports. And they will tell you, we were built for academics because based on the times we were founded, we were going to school to learn. And these are what our institutions are. So guess what? When you get in sports, Dion, when you get in sports, you got to get in sports. And it's a total different ball game. And I used to always say, before the trend of hiring coaches, and folks would be like, oh, if we all went to an HBCU, HBCUs cannot afford to manage a Power 5 kid. Especially, let's take football for 3 years. You don't have enough money. You ain't got enough boosters. You ain't got enough women on campus to make it shake. Because whether we like it or not, that's what's going to bring them there and keep them there. And it just is what it is. And so at this point of the game, and I say all the time, I'm like, Bethune-Cookman should have never let Ed Reed go. Never. Yes, he said what he said, and there was a problem, but you get somebody like me that's now his right hand there, and that doesn't happen anymore. But you're still in the conversation. His connections are still in the conversation. You take that video that Ed made, and that's what you use to go around to all these corporations who say they want to help and say, see what we're dealing with? This is firsthand account. Put your money where your mouth is. You use that to flip it to give you what you want. And Ed Reed is still your coach. Now the attention is back on Bethune. Now you showing that you're moving in the right direction because now you in the SWAC with the rest of the big dogs, and that's a whole nother ball game.
You had to take that negative into a positive, right? Like you could have flipped that whole narrative because the issue's the issue. We can all complain about like how it was handled. We all don't handle things, maybe the way that someone would like, but it's like you said, how you handle that and create that narrative. So you talked on this topic, and I was going to kind of talk about this later on. So I'm gonna kind of go ahead and move into the we call it in the game. So we're going to talk a little bit about your career. So starting out, you had a relationship or you worked with Dion very closely, kind of early on. I mean, you work with a lot of people, so we want to kind of get some of those things out. But how was it working for him? And then what you learned from him working for him? What do you think about his his change from going from Jackson to the PWI Colorado. And I think I got a little bit of it from what you gave us, but I still want to hear kind of one, like how you started your relationship with him and then how that translates into now.
So my very first client, after I was the basketball coach there, my very first client at school was Marcus Spears. So Swagoo, that's my guy. And literally I said my guy, he was my student. Then for the whole time he was at LSU, we kept in touch. You know, it's time to get drafted. He called me. He said, we going. I said, where are we going? He said, wherever I get drafted. So at this point, we had no clue. We wind up getting to Dallas. I get to Dallas. There's a bunch of other LSU guys on the team. Brandon Bass is on the basketball team. So, you know, I had 6 or 7 guys immediately. So when kids are like, oh, I want to be an agent. And I'm like, who's your clients? Who do you know? Is your brother a 5-star? Is your daddy a coach? Like,
what's your tie, right?
Exactly. Where your pipeline at? So, because I'm serious. MH, you laughing, but
no, that's like, real. That's real.
You fight and claw to take that NFL test. You only can take it in July. If you fail it, you taking it again next year. You got to wait a whole nother year. But if you pass it, you got 3 years to have a client that's in the league on contract. You just showing up.
That's one of the things they don't know about.
Right there. We'll put a pause on that because y'all want to come back to that. So I get there. It's going great. Now Bill Parcells is their coach. Bill say, we ain't doing none of this. We ain't going to be in the streets. We ain't going out. So I had to get a job, a real job, because my other job, which was managing this, left. So actually there's a huge company there called the Marketing Arm. They have their branding and marketing company, one of the biggest in the world when you want to talk about sports marketing. And they had a talent division, and talent, as we call it in the business, is, you know, the athletes, celebrities. That's who you're negotiating contracts with. So literally they hired me and they said, we want to hire you to work on an AT&T campaign. And I was like, okay. They were like, we're going to do this thing. It's called home turf. And what it is kind of like cribs, where you go to all these different athletes' house and we give them AT&T products. And, you know, it wasn't YouTube TV and all that. You watch it like we're watching it now, and you just watch the video. So we're literally making these 32-minute videos with each of these athletes. I said, okay. And then they were like, and we're going to launch a new product at the same time. So I was like, okay, cool. So we get there, you know, it's 30 different athletes. And when I tell you, I'm picking the 30 athletes, I'm saying to AT&T, these are the guys from all the sports that I think we should go to their houses. For the first 5 episodes, it was all basketball, and Kenny Smith was my host. So me and Kenny are really good friends. The next 25, Dion was my host. So I basically was on the road with Dion for a year. And on the road, when I say a superstar, a megastar, a star, Dion taught me how to do this job, how to handle talent, how to handle athletes, how to handle adversity. You know, literally, some days he felt like signing autographs. Some days we in the airport, he just taking pictures, you know. So I know how to check a temperature of a guy to be like, okay, what is it that we're doing today? How is the audience, and how are we going to proceed? You know, that's the thing I always get when I talk about guys and their teams, and ladies too. When I say guys, that's everyone. I say, who's your me? Who's the person that's telling everybody no all the time? Who's the stopgate? And not the me that's attached to your family. That's your homeboy, that's your cousin, that's your sister. You know, like Tasha Mack and Malik, and he got TT. Not TT. Who is Tasha Mack? Who is stopping everything? Because you need that person. Because you never want to be, oh, we saw such and such at the airport. He was so mean. No, he was great. But that girl that was with him, oh my God, she was horrible. Yes, I'm horrible. So
absolutely.
that's what it looks like. And that's a learned behavior. That's you got to know your guy. You got to know what's happening. And I think that's one thing that I do very well. That's one of my magics. And my magic is putting the right brand with the right athlete so that you know it works. And so for me, like I said, I was with Dion for a year. And It's one of those things that I learned so much because, back then he was still Deion saying, we couldn't go anywhere without it being
a thing, a mob, everything.
Right.
So then what's your quick kind of like, high level view of him leaving in the Jackson State situation?
He had to. He did everything his contract said he was going to do and more. And folks don't like when I say this, but Deion did more for HBCUs in the last 10 years than anybody has done.
Ooh, you should have been on our show, boy.
That's what I was saying.
Hey,
all of it.
All of it. Guess what? Everything that comes. 2 things for certain, 1 thing for sure. First thing, they didn't pay. They couldn't afford him.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that we see that's coming out now about ticket sales and shirts and member blah blah blah, those are all incentives that needed to go into the contract so they could be able to even afford to keep him there.
Right.
That's number 1. The exposure, the millions and millions of eyeballs alone. If I had to turn that into a marketing plan and a business plan, and I'm saying, okay, how much exposure are we gonna get? And you're paying for exposure, that's through the roof.
Yeah.
Good Morning America, Nightline,
Game Day, ESPN Game Day. Come on, that's ridiculous.
Ridiculous. So for him to jump to Colorado, and right now, they're like, all Deion needs to do 6 games. I look at that schedule and I see 5 impossible. I look at who he transferred in. I'm like, we got to win in spade 10. We going 6. I look at it makes you laughing. I'm serious. I look at everything and all the moving parts, and that video that dropped last week with he trying to make it sound like an HBCU with the band. He didn't say that. He said, I want theme music. And if you know Deion, he's had that his whole existence. So that's nothing new. So for me, I'm like, he could get 6. If he gets 6 and go to a bowl game, that's a winning season. Mm-hmm. But he did it because his son. He feels like his son can play in the NFL at quarterback.
That was MH. MH had that whole that was the thing when we had our show. That's perfect. Perfect spot on MH.
Yeah.
Because guess what? Now he got to pay in the pack.
Correct.
Now for the first 2 years, we got to get some competition because guess what? They out. Your biggest competition is leaving other than Oregon. So UCLA and USC is about to be out. So his last year, let's run this table. Let's see what it really looked like.
Correct.
Film.
And he's always put his kids first.
And he's fighting that challenge of he's raising a black quarterback, and we already know what the obstacles for that. So yeah, he's got to get that competition in those next couple of years. That's good stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate you touching on that, and I agree wholeheartedly. But I want you to you mentioned it a little bit. If you could take us kind of a little bit behind the scene, not necessarily with Deion, but just matching the brand with the athlete. I always think that's interesting because ESPN has the same tired stories about single parent household and homeless and all those type of things. And I guess tell us, how's the strategy about matching the brand with the athlete? How do you go about that?
That's literally so. It's being around these guys and actually deep diving. So, before back then, it wasn't that strategic. It was, okay, I got $10,000. I got to figure out who wants to do it for $10,000. Let me match them up and let me make it work. And back then, of course, it was easier. But now it is a lot of temperaments, a lot of emotion. You want somebody to shake hands, kiss babies, you need this kid. You want somebody who's going to go in front of the room and rah-rah and give a speech, you need this kid. You want somebody that's going to be right here and he's going to say his message. Ain't nobody allowed to touch him. As soon as he get finished, he walking off the stage and he out. That's this kid. All of those things make your events, make your partnerships, make your brands successful. And it's one of those things that when I say I pick kids and I brand, I made Chris Paul Uncle Cliff. And I say that to say because back in the day before the Uncle Cliff campaign evolved, I picked Chris Paul to be in that State Farm commercial. I'm like, listen, y'all want somebody that assists? Y'all want somebody that's a helper?
Boom.
You and I have tons of those of how it started and where we're at. And it's one of those things that makes how you do it is literally you have to listen, you have to watch, you have to know, it's so funny because back in the day, I used to be all at work, all of my little gossip sites and boom, boom, boom. And the guys used to be like, every morning you come in and you start there. Oh, because I need to know what the streets is saying. Because the streets is going to tell me who I'm dealing with. The streets is going to tell me what happened when they was out and about and woo to woo. And that's what we need. Because guess what? We're somewhere and one time that switch gets flipped from on to off and something happened, I got to know how to manage that something happened. And your agent, your manager, the person who I'm doing the deal with is always going to pump him up and always going to say, oh, that's the perfect person. They're going to be great, until I realize that, hey, remember last time they was here, remember the street said this happened and they cleaned it up. So here we go again. So that's what it looks like. And it's literally, but if somebody tell you that they not going to do it, and that's why it says talent whisperer at the top. If somebody tell you that they're not going to do it, you got to, and you need this guy, you got to figure out a way to get it done. And me, that's what I do. I get it done.
So I want to touch on a couple of other roles before we talk about what you do today. Really quick, and I don't want to kind of glaze over these, right? So Panini, being at the car brand, really spent more NBA, right? That was a lot of your time during the NBA. And then you go to American Cancer Society. And the reason I choose these two to highlight, you've done a lot of amazing things, but the American Cancer Society was mainly football. So what are some things that you learned about those? Is there any love working with basketball players versus football players? Because you got two football players that's here, and we don't get the love because we got the helmet thing we got to deal with. But what were just kind of like some nuances working those that you can get people that want to kind of get into this? Because you do a lot of talent management. You touched upon being able to find the right person for the right gig. Give me those kind of nuances for those two roles.
So remember, technically, it's always flip-flopped if you look at the career as a whole. Remember, in the beginning, I had football all the time because that was LSU and that was football. So I knew how to move with football. And then, like I said, the helmet on, that's the blessing and the curse. Then, like you said, moving to Panini, I was in charge of basketball, and it's so visible, but it's a small sample size of kids. It's only 15 compared to 53 that's on. And when I was at Panini, I was with kids. When I say my guys that are my guys, Anthony Davis, me and Anthony, like I saw him turn into a superstar before my eyes. So, and it's literally, all of them. It was very good because like you just said, I hadn't been to All-Star in a minute. So this year when I went to All-Star, all my old guys are in it now. All my old guys are like, yo, we ain't seen you football. And I'm like, listen.
Right.
But smartly, one thing that I was trying to do when I was at American Cancer Society is give them the same, build an NBA program like the NFL program, because it's all in the same vein. That's the thing that I tell agents and managers and guys, period, and young folks when I'm talking to them now, build your community relations base up immediately. Because when something hit the fan and something goes wrong and you need something to fall back on to get goodwill, to gain a better eye in public, to change, to shift the narrative, it ain't like you showed up yesterday. Your team and your people could be like, we've been doing this. And that's what you fall back on to get back right in the public eye, because people love a good story. Like I said, that that stuff that's popping off in Memphis, not on my watch, baby. Ooh, MH.
Baby. I love it. All right, and just going to jump into, well, yeah, we need the whole kind of church session for that boy over there. Anyway, so kind of going into, and like, it just almost seems like this role that you have right now, VP of Talent and Partnerships, just kind of like was created exactly for you, right? Like you've been doing this almost in your sleep or for, a lot of plus years, right? So,
yeah.
So one, how did you find this role, and what is kind of like I think the toughest part for you? Because like even though something seems like it's made for you, there's still some challenges, hiccups, and things that you're learning through the day. So kind of share with us that.
So this role found me, and how, when I say it found me, it has 55 athlete investors, and how it works is, And the core of the program at Players TV is because we have these investors want to make content and they want to do things. So instead of me having to run out and say, oh, beg you to do XYZ, you already want to do XYZ because you are embedded into a media company. So when I say it found me, Chris Paul and his brother CJ actually recommended me to this job. They were like, oh, you dealing with talent? You need somebody to wrangle them? You need Ivory. So literally, that's how I got to this job.
And CP is one of the investors as well, correct?
Yes. So it's that whole Dwayne Wade, CP, Melo, that whole thing, and it, and it works.
And the boat crew.
Yes, it is the crew. Yes, it works, but it's one of those things that it's also, on the brand side. One thing that is fortunate for me, like you just said, a brand can come and say, hey, I need XYZ, and I know how to go get XYZ. And, if the numbers work and if it works, then it's great. If not, let's pivot and let me give you some other talent that you think, that I know would fit. The growing pains of it all is it is a startup, and it is, a startup business, and it's up and down and it ebbs and flow. And so, it's a fantastic company. Once it gets over some humps and some hurdles, it's fantastic because literally you should want to make good content. It's uninterrupted before uninterrupted blew up like it did, and it's you think somebody want to watch a show about you in your garage fixing a car? They don't. Now, if it's at your grandma's house and your grandmama's out there with you and she funny, we want to see that. So that's kind of the no, that's not a good idea. Nobody wants to see that. I promise you, nobody wants to see that. But, on the other side of it, branding and activations, like you said, I could do those in my sleep. For me, it's just, it's commercial. It's a long day. And it's so funny because, when we're on set and we're making these things, we have a director and all the time, but one director who makes like real commercials. He's like, you're the best producer ever. I'm like, who's the producer? He was like, you are doing the producer's job. You make sure we on task. You make sure everyone show up. You make sure, for me, I'm just doing my job to make sure talent is doing what they're contractually obligated to do so we can get in and get out. So it's interesting. It is interesting.
You better start telling them to give you them producer credits. They want to start throwing their word around.
Look, that's what I said, y'all ain't told me nothing but a word. And they was like, when you think of it from start to finish, I said, oh, give me some EP. But what's so funny, here's a great story. Last at American Cancer Society, I had Tasha Mack. She was actually doing something for me. And so Miss Wendy, I said to her, I was like, I'm Tasha Mack. And this was at the beginning of the show. She was and she didn't believe me. She left. We went through the night. Najee was my talent. Some stuff came up. I'm moving. I'm shaking. Towards the end of the night, she looked at me. She said, oh, you for real, Tasha Mack? I said, oh, you thought
this was play?
Yes. I said, you thought that I was joking? She was like, do you know how many times I hear that? And I'm like, yeah. She was like, you got some stories? I'm like, you got some writing credits? Yeah.
So are you the reason why they changed Tasha Mack character so bad when it went to BET? Man, I hate how they did Tasha Mack character.
And let me tell you what is so funny is like I just finished watching the new, because they have a new season and it's on Paramount Plus, and I just finished watching it. I'm like, that's not right. Like, who's doing this? That ain't even. Look, MH, that can't happen ever. So, yeah.
I love it. MH, you ready for them quick hits?
Yeah, I am. I just some random questions, kind of get to know you kind of things. First time, if ever, have you ever been starstruck?
Oh, everybody has one. I know my one. Every time he walk into a room and just stop. Hey, Mike. I know, Jordan. I know. Yeah. The very first time I met him, 2004, All Stars in Philly. I'm in there. We ain't think he was going to show up. My cousin come running across the room. She said, he here. He just walked in. I got to get my hair together. Okay. He come in. He got a big old bodyguard with him. And I look at his bodyguard and I say, I have to meet him. His bodyguard's like, no. I'm like, but I do. I said, I've been waiting my whole life for this. And he was like, they all have. And I said, if you don't let me meet him, I'm going to pee my pants. He said, what? I said, right here in front of you, I'm going to pee my pants. He's this close and you're not letting me get no picture or nothing. He just bust out laughing. He whispered in his ear. That was it. And so everywhere I go, every desk I have is this rusty, because it's a picture. It was on the camera, the 24 hour. It made you laughing. It was so nice. Yeah. So that was my first. That's my one.
Love it.
That's a great one. Favorite song. Well, you said Dion got theme music. What would be your theme music? What would be your theme song?
Something that have to do with work. Probably Michael Jackson. I've been working day and night. Like it would probably be. Yes. It would probably be something like that because that's what this job is. But I love it and I wouldn't change that for anything. So yeah, probably something like that.
Favorite food.
Favorite food is Chipotle. I could eat Chipotle every. Did you take it?
I'm with you. I'm shaking my head and like, I'm with you every day.
Every day. I could eat it, and I'm getting the same bowl every day.
The same one.
I don't need to vary. I don't need to try nothing. I tried that quesadilla that your boy made famous real quick. I went right back to my bowl. I'm good on it. Chipotle every day.
You got 3 dinner guests that you can have a dinner with. Who would those be?
Of course, Michael Jordan is there. Of course. Jackie Joyner Kersey. And Mike, Jackie Joyner, and I will put Dion there because I know what he gonna give me. I know what each of them 3. Those are very strategic. I know what all 3 of them are going to give me. And I feel like when you pick the best at all of your sports, and even if, let's say, if I switch Dion out and I switch Dion out and I put another football there. Let me see. Lawrence Taylor. I could put Lawrence Taylor there because I could put Odell. I could put
hold on. Now wait, we didn't have some. I don't want to hate on Odell, but we didn't have some pioneers, and then Odell just slip in there. He a pioneer?
I wouldn't put him in there as pioneer.
I mean, he did one-hand catch, though. I mean, if you want,
and not even that. I put him in there because all of them are branding and marketing icons. I always look at it from that lens. Whether we like it or not, Odell ain't played in 3 seasons. He's still the number 1 selling Nike football athlete.
Yeah, that's true.
You get what I'm saying? Like, and not even, and it's a story of, for me, I don't even have much to say in this conversation. I'm watching how Odell's mom and dad ran track, Miss Jackie in track. Odell, Miss Jackie played basketball. Odell could have played back. Like I could see how those stories, and then, like I said, that's the curveball. He is the curveball. Then we got this whole LSU thing and Nike. She went to UCLA. So yeah, I could turn it into a whole thing.
So you don't put any, and I'm sorry, I'm hijack. You don't put Shaq in there? I mean, LSU, you got to give Shaq. No,
I was looking for Ocho. Where my boy?
Oh, and I even forgot. Yeah, no, I would definitely do the dance with Ocho any day of the week. Oh yeah, I could put him in there. Like I said, I'm looking for, and then like I said, if we swap them out and I push Miss Jackie out and I put, like I said, I could make that whole thing work. Easy.
I give you a bigger
Jackie got the to-go box. She got to order hers out.
Yeah, because Miss Jackie will be like, okay, Miss Ivory, this is not even for me. Let me get out of here and you drop somebody. So yeah. Oh yeah, no, I could for sure.
Is there somebody that maybe two guys that you are two guys, or when I say guys, I mean men and women as well, that you would like to work with?
So I've never met Serena. And I would definitely do the dance with Serena. And I've met Tiger, but I haven't worked with him. So, other than that, though, kind of anybody else, I've done some type of work with them. I've, been behind the scenes with them. I'm not heavy into baseball, but I've done a bunch of baseball stuff too. So yeah, and it's one of those things that like I don't get flustered. Like I'm the person in the room who your people coming and you all woo, and I'm like, let me tell you how we're gonna do this. Let me tell you how you're gonna get this picture. When I walk, you walk. You just shake your head and you just do what I tell you to do, and it's gonna be a fantastic night, and everybody gonna be happy. And no, that like literally, that's why now when folks are like, why do you do this job? Why are you in it? Like to get to let people meet their ones, especially like little kids. When little kids be like, "Oh, my favorite person is boom," and I be like, "Okay, he here. Let's see what we could do so you could get in front of XYZ, that kind of thing." So that's the things that bring me joy now.
I'm good, brother. I'm
Awesome.
good. That's good stuff.
All right, I got one.
Okay.
my little quick hit.
Yes.
So, did you really want to work for Diddy?
I did. I was
the backstory for our listeners that may not understand what that reference is.
I was cheated. I should have won that whole damn thing. So I was on I Want to Work for Diddy the second season. I got third and I should have got first. And I knew literally like when I got off the show, Capricorn, his assistant, was on the radio in Philly and was like, "Oh, she couldn't win because if she would have won, she would have took our jobs." You damn right. Because when that happened, I had them in my pocket. I was like, "Yo, I'm gonna be your assistant because I already been closing $1 million deals around here." But it was just literally, I just happened to be at the right place at the right time. I auditioned. I knew what made good TV. And here's the part that's so funny. I actually did it because I wanted to be on The Apprentice. That's the one I wanted to be on. That's because cool. I was so mad how Omarosa got to the last one and just melted. Kwame melted. Every black candidate melted when they got to the end. And I was like, I'm going to go on Diddy for the warm-up. That's the JUCO. Then when I get to Apprentice NH, I'm Power 5. I'm at LSU. I'm Ohio State. I'm Bama in this bit. I'm ready. And then he turned it to only having celebrities. And so, but yeah, oh no. I was ready.
That's hilarious. So those are like definitely my shows. I followed that whole all of the Diddy collection. I'm making a band, all of that stuff, man. I'm in Apprentice, but that's hilarious.
JUCO, yeah.
JUCO. The HBCU JUCO.
Yeah, it was because them behind the scenes. It's so funny because when we were filming reality shows,
Last Chance U.
Yes,
right there.
Right.
It takes 22 hours of tape to get 1 minute of show. So they're filming you all day long. So literally we'd be sitting there just waiting for the next task. Folks always be like, "Oh, reality shows are fake." Literally the only thing that they did was cut the camera off after they told us that week's task so they could explain like the legalities and the rules, and then they turn the camera right back on. But it's so funny because we be doing stuff just waiting, and then as soon as like they got the call that he was coming, people just start moving. I'm like, "Oh, he on it." Like after the first day, after I laid the scene, peeped the scene, I was like, "Oh, when they start moving fast, he about to come. So we need to start." So yeah, no, it was fun. If I could go, like I said, if I could do Apprentice now.
Crown you the champ, huh?
The whole champ.
Love it. All right. So now we want to get into the winner circle, and this is where we talk about, what you're promoting, what you want to do next, just to shine a light on you. So I did want to start with fitness because, you are killing it in this fitness game. And not only are you personally in the fitness game, you're doing it to help others as well. So start with us about how you compete. So start with like how you got into it, why you did it, and then kind of the business side of it, how you help others.
So literally I just walked in the gym one day and saw some girls who were in such great shape. And I was like, "Oh my God, y'all look fantastic." And they was like, "We bodybuilders." And I was like, "What?" They was like, I was like, "Arnold Schwarzenegger type?" And they was like, "Not that, it's more than that." So literally I just did it. And it's one of those things that blind. When I say I talked to the guy who wanted to be my trainer, and he was like, so when you think it was March. He said, when you think you're going to get on stage? I'm like, what do you mean? 2 months. I could get myself together in 2 months. And he just bust out laughing. Like MH been laughing at me this whole time. That's what he did to me. He was like, it don't happen that fast. You're nowhere near ready. And I'm like, what? And after that, it took me a year. I started in March. I did my first show that next May. And 2 weeks before the first show, he was like, you not ready. So it is a thing. And so I've just been doing it. It's so routine. It keeps me routine. And it's so funny because wherever I'm at, January 1st is when I start. And this is busy season for everybody in sports. Everything back to back to back. But EJ, like when we saw each other,
you an all-star. I'm just like, you like, nope, gotta eat this. It's like, nope. I'm like, you doing this? You're like, nope, this. I need some protein.
And so it's a thing, and it keeps me focused. It keeps my mind clear. It's a goal building thing. So what I did with that thing is I turned it into a weight loss thing to help folks with meal plans. So I make meal plans to help other people lose weight. I know what I need to do to get down, to get ready to show. I know how long it takes me. So I just took what I eat and what I know works and flipped it so regular people can do it. And, for me, it's helping busy people, especially busy women, busy mothers, people that have kids in sports and do X, Y, Z. If I can get you to eat right, I can get you to lose weight. Because what I tell folks all the time, I got a Pelly. I'm all in on that Peloton. But I tell folks, you cannot outwork a bad diet. You could go to the gym every day. If your eating sucks, you're going to be mad because you just in the gym wasting time. So for me, if I could help you eat right, if I could give you some little tips that help you throughout the day, we could get that weight off. And it's a thing. So I meal prep, I carry around the food, I got the protein bars in my bag, I look at the schedule and see when I'm going to show. Right now, I'm like, let me find something. Normally I try to do a show right before the draft. So in about 6 weeks, if there's one that I find that I like. And that's another reason why, regardless, I start January 1st, because if I don't do it, okay. But if you're going to do it, you got to be ready. So, I normally find one maybe right then. And then I find one, to go in to tweak it maybe 2 weeks after draft. And that's what it looks like. And then I take off in July. And then July through, football season, catch me, go crazy, because I'm eating something I shouldn't have no business eating. And
summer starts.
It makes you be like, should you have that? Listen, put all the sour cream on this bowl at your Chipotle. You double down on that cheese. Come on, give me some more. So yeah, no. So that's what it is. That's my fitness bag, and like I said, it's one of those things that I love it. Anybody who wants to compete, I'd be like, listen, you want to compete or you want to win? Those are two totally different things. You could get on stage. I could get you ready to get on stage, but do you want to win when you're on stage? Two totally different things. But that's the mindset of this job. Do you want to be a sports agent or you just want to know some folks? Do you want to do multi-million-dollar brand deals or do you just want to brand a few things? That's how this space is. And I think those skills that I have for working and hustling in this space has transferred to work and hustle in that space too.
And then, go ahead, EJ. No, go ahead, EJ. Go.
So just in continuing with kind of like being in that space, right? So, you have all this corporate time, with other people, and just with the amount of experience you do, you can help so many people, right? Like you've been given gems of just kind of talking with us. So how are you turning that into your entrepreneur spirit, right? Like, you mentioned NIL, right? And just like working with your brother, I'm sure there's amazing things that you can or that you're probably already doing. So talk to us about your entrepreneurial endeavors and whether it's, NIL, whether it's branding, because right now, it's different. Like you said, like I know I've heard you kind of even speak before, like you wish there was YouTube and TikTok and all this when you were, want to work for Diddy or doing those other things, right? Because that could have just excelled your brand and what you do. So how are you taking all of this knowledge and putting it into your kind of entrepreneurial spirit?
So for me, that NIL space is wide open and it's easy for me because I always did rookies, especially like you said with trading cards. Back in the day with rookies, as soon as this time right here, your team didn't make it to the tournament, you getting put out the first round, you lost on Thursday, come see me Friday. And we gonna start signing these trading cards immediately so I can get some money in your pocket. But now I'm gonna get you before this, so I ain't waiting 6 months for you. So for me in NIL, it just fell into a natural sweet spot. And I love to go around and talk to parents, talk to high schools, talk to colleges, talk to especially parents. Right now, there are 26 states in the United States where you could do NIL high school, and they need it. And it's one of those things that, I really believe that the very first time I met EJ, I made a good impression on him in NIL because some woman randomly in his space on LinkedIn was like, who knows NIL? And EJ plugged me, and that was through Dairy Max and the Cowboys, and they gave me a job. So I consult with them on their NIL space. So for me, and it's always definitely helping HBCUs because they don't have a me that's on campus. So you trying to call compliance, you trying to call a coach, you trying to call something. No, let me come in and talk to you, your parents, your students, and give you at least the basics, the top line things. And when I say top line, they call you EJ. Okay. Guess what? In real life, that's not your real name. So what is your real name, son? And how come that's not in your profile? I cannot find you because they call you TT and you got TT everywhere. No, TT, what is your real name? What school do you go to? How come you don't have your school in there? What position do you play? Football players. What number do you wear? Most high schools don't have their name on the back of the jerseys. So, it's just simple basics things that these kids are missing. And the gym that I could give parents, and I can say to parents anytime, start highlighting your kids now. We need a track record of highlights, a history, basically. Track, basketball, right now you averaging, it's your senior year, you averaging 19 points a game. You could say back when she was a freshman, she was only averaging 12, but through work ethic, and I could tell a whole story if you had history of what they were doing when they were a freshman compared to what they were doing when they were a senior. So, yes.
Get them gems.
That's it. For me, storytelling, teaching brands how to connect with athletes to now tell great stories that bring consumers in. Then teaching athletes how to story tell. Then that personal branding thing, that piece, that it factor, you're building your social media brand. So here's the things that agencies look for. Here's the thing that clients look for. Here's the thing that companies look for that want to partner with you. So how can I help you help be your best self? Because guess what? 99% of y'all are not going to the league. Mm-hmm. So if you're not going to the league, this whole NIL thing that you're doing is the same way that you can turn that into a business NIL and turn that to a business LinkedIn, because people like us who are trying to hire people, the first place we're going to run is your social media still. So guess what? You cleaned it up to do partnerships. So now transfer that to LinkedIn and do it all over again on LinkedIn. But you already have content because you already been documenting this from day one. So that's what it looks like.
Let's go.
You think athletes have changed much? I always hear like it's a different athletes now, or do you think it's just the same? They have different opportunities, or
right there, different opportunities. Because right now, so prime example, Jermaine O'Neal, he's an agent now, and last year, me and Jermaine were talking, and he was like, Ivory, NIL is the 33rd team in the NBA. He said you got two choices here. You could take a kid who, and he was like, he had Timmy. He was like, second round, the NBA is giving you $480K. Gonzaga tell you to come back to school because they got $1 million in NIL deals. What you gonna do?
Go back.
Go back. Baycott. There's so many kids that I could say. And then let's move men out of the picture. It's Women's History Month. Girls can get this money through NIL so easily. Track, softball, gymnastics, all of that. And the reason why it's so much easier for girls, because females are so much more engaging. And when I say they're much more engaging, Oh, you had a great track meet. You posted your picture. You posted your race. You want people in the comments. Great track, great run, blah, blah. People are asking advice. Females go back in and literally write back, reply.
Yeah, they do.
Look,
They do.
them boys, great game.
Thanks.
They don't even do that.
Maybe, right?
Yes.
maybe get a thumbs up back.
Unless it's their homie, unless it's another person that they play against. But throughout it, it's just a blank, just a bunch of comments. And I'm like, companies want to know that you're engaging. I'm hiring you because I want you to sell my product or promote my product. So if somebody be like, oh, that's a great shirt you have on, I'm coming back saying, oh, I got this from such and such. So now the company knows you're doing what they're paying you to do. And all those are learned behaviors. So it is a different athlete because these kids know how to use TikTok. These kids know how to make a video. These kids know how to snap and do everything. And I'm like, listen, you gave me you taped an hour worth of footage. We can turn that into a reel. We can turn that into a story. We can turn that into a post. And that's off of 1 hour of footage that we done broke down to boom, 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 all these little places. And then you could disseminate to all of your social media. And now we rocking and rolling. And this is basic stuff that these kids don't see. And they just need someone to help them swim in the right direction.
I love it. Damn.
Yeah. See, NH,
I'm learning.
All right, so as you have been doing throughout the show, but this is a section we call the assist, where you kind of get to drop some coaching gems. So just really, if you could give us maybe a quote that you live by, or just kind of something maybe you would tell your younger self, but just like a quick quotable or something you could share with the people.
Making a way out of no way. I live by it because it's you cannot control what these athletes gonna do. You can't control the company's response to it. You can't control the comments in the media section. But when you do get it, what you gonna do with it? And that's it. That's the making a way. It's like, listen, they told you no. Someone didn't agree with who you picked. The athlete was late. Everything that could have went wrong that day. So how do you still make a way? And so it's always, for me, thinking an A plan, a B plan. How's this going to look? Because people are putting their whole campaigns in your hand, because when something goes wrong, now you got to backtrack everything. And it's like, okay, is it worth it? Did we pick the right person? Do we have a pivot? And these are all things that you guys have heard me say from the beginning of the show, and all these things are connected. So that's literally how you make that way, is you got to prep, plan, and prepare. And if you skip one of them steps, unfortunately, you're going to be asked out.
There you go. That's Ivory's three P's she just dropped for you now. I hope y'all had your notebooks out for that. Hey, MH, man, bring us home, man, with the final thoughts.
Ivory, just loved your time, loved your energy. I really appreciate it. I learned a lot in the 60 minutes of just talking to you. So give me your flowers. Hope everything is, as you continue to build and do great things, we just appreciate you. Thank
you. Like I said, it's my pleasure. I'm here to help folks where I can. Companies need me because talent gonna do what they gonna do. So you need somebody that know what they gonna do. Same thing, like I said, with NIL. These companies gonna do what they gonna do. So you need somebody who gonna be able to help you and guide you. And I've been doing this for a long time. So for me, that's why I'm like, let me help you. Let me help you.
And then just on the social front, or just kind of contact, where can they find you? What's the best way? IG, LinkedIn, all the above. Just kind of shout that out so the listeners. We're going to put this in the show notes, but just so they can hear it verbally as well.
So yes, that's me. All my IG is Ivory Tabb. My little weight plan, and I see you have it on there. Actually, it's TIPS. It's tips, because I give you tips. So it's tips by Tabb. But that's how I kind of do everything, is by giving you these tips and dropping all this knowledge. If it's weight loss, if it's NIL, if it's branding, storytelling, it's just, how can Tabb give you tips? But what's so funny is this weekend, I think I might have to switch it all up. it was a little boy sitting next to me when I was speaking this weekend, and his dad sent me a text like, "Thank you for dropping these gems on him. It was great." He said he named you Miss It, and I was like, "What?" He was like, "Because she get it. She know it." And I was like, "See, and I get shit done." I'm like, this might be MH. I'm like, tell him he just did his first branding deal. That's what that looks like. So no, it's my pleasure. Like I said, please feel free. That's another gem that I always drop when these guys are making their Instagram, their TikTok, their IG, all your media platforms. The name should be the same. Make it easy for people to find you. Right there.
Absolutely. Well, hey, we want to thank our guest, man. It's amazing. Everything we thought was going to be a little more. Thank you, the people, for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show like we did. Please know new shows are dropping every Thursday, all right? And please subscribe to the YouTube channel because visual representation matters. If you see it, you can be it. And know you can subscribe to Spotify, Apple, Amazon, just anywhere you listen to podcasts, we are there. And please stay safe, practice gratitude, and know we're rooting for you.
Screaming, all us blacks got is sports and entertainment until we even.
Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Look. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Spent about 2 racks on handmade new rags. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. That's everybody from sports to college class to rap and back.